reaction, we welcome in our Chip Patterson. Chip, it was similar to number 4 TCU, number 3 Michigan, with a late field goal to survive that upset. What is your reaction to this win and another dramatic ending?
I got to think that Michigan is really in trouble for a couple of reasons. One thing about this Michigan offense, though it is very efficient down to down, moving the ball down the field, it has had trouble finishing. And thank goodness they do have Jake Moody, a very reliable kicker, who they had to turn to several times when scoring opportunities did not end in touchdowns. And that has been a theme from throughout this season, the inability to convert the many scoring chances into touchdowns and instead having to settle for field goals. Now, the defense is so good and they get so many scoring opportunities that Jake Moody's been able to put up enough points that it's worked out for the Wolverines. And of course, it worked out here against Illinois as they remain unbeaten. But the second piece of this that's very concerning is the injury to Blake Corum. He was knocked out of the game in the first half with an apparent leg injury. And though he did start at the beginning of the third quarter and was on the field, he was not on the field for any parts of the end of this game. And I don't know whether that is avoiding risk of further injury or trying to protect him for that game against Ohio State. You have to imagine that Blake Corum, a Heisman Trophy candidate, the heartbeat of this offense, if he's limited at all or unavailable, it greatly changes our expectations for the Wolverines. So the inability to finish, which has been a theme throughout this entire season, almost nipped Michigan here. And B, all eyes are on the status of Blake Corum moving forward.
Yeah, great points, Chip. Big picture, a couple of concerns, but they survived this one today. Looking ahead now to rivalry week, they'll take on number 2 Ohio State. How do you evaluate that matchup given how we've seen this one unfold?
Well, this is going to be a spot where Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy just has to be better. And this Michigan passing attack has to find new life and more productivity. There were so many throws that McCarthy, by my grade, at least just outright missed. You know, places where this Michigan game didn't have to be this close, didn't have to come down to the very end, didn't need a couple of favorable bounces, favorable calls for the Wolverines to remain with a 0 in the loss column. And you're going up against C.J. Stroud and an Ohio State wide receiver room that has multiple All-American candidates. So what are you going to do as a Michigan offense? And again, we go back to what is the status of Blake Corum. Even if Blake Corum is healthy and even if Blake Corum is playing in the game against Ohio State, the idea that you are going to be able to settle for field goals and not get touchdowns against a high-potent offense like the Buckeyes is just not reasonable to imagine that you're giving yourself a chance to win, especially on the road. This is the most important week for J.J. McCarthy all season. He and his pass catchers have got to put together a game plan and get on the same page so that they can go up against Ohio State and get touchdowns, because that's what it'll take to knock off Ohio State.
Yeah, a lot to look forward to with rivalry week coming up. Chip, thanks so much. We appreciate it. And for more from Chip, make sure you download and subscribe to the Cover 3 podcast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen on Apple or Spotify. It's a brilliant listen. Make sure you download and subscribe to the Cover 3 podcast today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.